Ready? We rolling on our camera? We did an event last summer, and the first speaker was cut off because we didn't know the camera wasn't rolling, and it turned out to be my cousin, and she was highly insulted. Stephanie, will we, okay. Now. All right, that's our communications director, Steve Wynn. That's his way of saying start, is to go and slam the door. Good morning, everybody. My name is Bob Bixby. I'm the executive director of the Concord Coalition. Thank you for coming this morning. I'm happy to be here with my colleagues, David Walker of the Peter G. Peterson Foundation, Isabel Sawhill of the Brookings Institution, Douglas Holtz-Eakin of the American Action Forum, and William Novelli of Georgetown University. We're here to announce the kickoff of a new public engagement effort called the Fiscal Solutions Tour. Why a Fiscal Solutions Tour? Well, I was looking. One way to look at it is yesterday CVO put out their monthly budget report, and I noticed that their estimated deficit for July was $169 billion. And I was thinking, gee, a couple of years ago when we were doing something called a fiscal wake-up tour, the budget deficit for the entire year was $162 billion. So people may have thought that we were a bunch of Cassandras running around. I dare say things turned out to be a lot worse than we were warning. Those are big, scary numbers. The deficit that we're going to have this year, the deficit that we had last year, and the projected deficit for next year. But to us, the scarier thing really is what happened. Stimulus, the cost of the stimulus paid. We're still left on an unsustainable track because of underlying demographic trends, healthcare costs, things that are conspiring and that are built into the budget that give us an unsustainable structural deficit that we really need to confront. And so simply warning about the problem is not enough now. We have to start talking about solutions, and that's what this is about. People can have different perspectives, as we do, on the best way to deal with this underlying structural deficit, but we have to start talking about real concrete solutions. That's part one. Part two is we have to engage the American public in a dialogue about these solutions, because the American public really needs to be engaged. If you just end up with some package of reforms that the public is not prepared for, they certainly won't accept them. And so some legitimate, good options that we might need to address would simply not get the attention that they deserve or be dismissed. So on the Fiscal Wake-Up Tour, on the Fiscal Solutions Tour, what we're going to do is talk about the several big issues that need to be confronted. We'll talk about Social Security, we'll talk about health care, we'll talk about revenues, we'll talk about the discretionary part of the budget, and we'll talk about budget process. And each one of us will say a few words about that on the tour. We don't agree, as I said, but on necessarily one big package of solutions, but we want to tee up a good discussion. One thing that we all do agree about is that this is really a moral issue. Solving this is not just a matter of numbers. It's not an arithmetic exercise. It is a matter of leaving a better legacy to future generations. So what we're each going to just say a couple words this morning and about the substantive issues, and then take your questions. And I'll turn now to Bill Novelli. Bill?
Thank you, Bob. Good morning, everybody. My primary role on this Fiscal Solutions Tour is going to be to talk about Social Security and to listen to what Americans have to say. As the former CEO of AARP, I know how important Social Security is to our seniors, and for that matter, to all generations. This is about addressing our long-term debt crisis in the context of also achieving adequate retirement security for today's and tomorrow's Americans. Social Security is arguably our most successful domestic program. It is a vital safety net and it's essential to the retirement security for millions of people. Now, we're starting from the premise that we can achieve Social Security solvency. We can do so in an equitable way, and in doing so, we can secure a big win for fiscal reform and build momentum for other bipartisan fixes. Like the fiscal problem as a whole, we've got to address both the revenue side and the benefit side of Social Security. We can't just raise revenues and fix the problem, and neither can we just cut spending and reach a good solution. So on this tour, we're going to offer some perspectives, we're going to lay out a number of options, and we're going to listen to and engage with our fellow citizens. People will engage. I know this from my AARP experience. Now, there are many options to consider, but the important reality is that we have a fiscal crisis staring us in the face, that we can deal with it if we engage the public and our policymakers and get serious about it. And in doing so, we have got to take into account important social goals, including retirement security. We can do this, and the Fiscal Solutions Tour is going to be an important step along the way. Thank you.
Doug?
Thank you. I'm delighted to join this illustrious group on this tour because I share their concern over the future that America faces. It is, I think, literally not an exaggeration to say that if we continue down the path that is currently marked out by our federal budget, we will run deficits so large as to damage the U.S. economy, and we will borrow that money from international lenders, some of whom do not share America's values, and we will place at risk, literally, our freedom and our prosperity. So I can't imagine a more important issue on which to engage the American people, and at least from my perspective, it is quite clear that you cannot have a successful effort to address this problem without a serious look at the spending side of the future federal budget, and at the heart of that will be the issues associated with the large healthcare programs, Medicare, Medicaid, and included in that Veterans Health. So my primary responsibility will be to discuss this issue and the potential for solutions to the federal budget problems, as well as the underperformance of what is now 1/6 of the U.S. economy. And if you are a pro-growth conservative, which are my roots, it is an inviting target to get better economic performance out of 1/6 of the U.S. economy. It'll be a tough time to do this. We've been through a polarizing debate at the federal level of the recently passed law. I have my own strong views about how good a reform that was, but that's not the purpose of this tour. This tour is meant to illustrate to the American people the kinds of things that can be done within the context of that law to slow the growth of healthcare spending in the United States, strategies that might lie outside that law, and to engage with them in a dialogue about what they perceive to be the best path forward. So I'm very much looking forward to this. I think it's exactly the conversation not just this group, but the entire country has to have, and hopefully we will be able to turn both the tide of public debate and the sea of red ink aside in relatively short order.
Good morning. Like my other colleagues here, I also feel that the country faces a real challenge in terms of the long-term deficits that absolutely need to be attacked. And I think there's no way that we can do that politically unless we engage a larger public in this discussion and get them educated about the options. My role in this Fiscal Solutions Tour is to talk about revenues. I do believe we need to rein in spending, but we can't do it all on the spending side of the budget alone. So revenues are going to have to be part of the solution. As part of that, I intend to talk about 5 basic options on the revenue side. The first is the debate that's going on right now about whether to extend the so-called Bush tax cuts. This is about what level of income tax rates we should have as a country. And my bottom line view there is that we cannot afford to extend all of those tax cuts permanently. Temporary extension could make sense to enhance the chances of recovery. Option 2 is to reform the entire income tax code, broadening the tax base, eliminating or limiting many deductions, credits, and other special preferences in the code. Right now we spend roughly $1 trillion a year on these so-called tax subsidies, and they are really just like spending programs by a different name. This would be pro-growth, pro-efficiency way to go, and might even enable us to reduce some rates in the process. Option 3 is to tax energy consumption as part of the larger goal of bringing about energy security and climate change. Ideally, we should have a tax on carbon. This is just part of the general notion that we should tax those things that we want less of rather than those things that we want more of. Option 4 is to tax consumption. This would encourage savings and also be pro-growth. The major option here is a value-added tax. Liberals don't like a VAT because it's regressive and just don't like the money. But as Larry Summers once quipped, conservatives will adopt a VAT when they realize it is regressive, and liberals will adopt it when they realize it is a money machine. Option 5, and Bill Novelli has already mentioned this, is to raise payroll taxes. Raising the cap on Social Security taxes from its current level of a little over $100,000 a year is one way to go here, but there are many others as well. So I look forward to joining with my colleagues in a discussion with the American public of these and other revenue options.
Thank you all for coming this morning. Thank you, Bob Bixby and the Concord Coalition, for conducting the Fiscal Solutions Tour, and for my respective colleagues here for taking time out of their busy schedules to be part of it. You know, based on various surveys, frankly, my extensive trip to about 6 states during the last years, engaging with the public, it's very clear that the number one priority of the American people right now is to get the economy back on track and generate jobs. At the same point in time, Americans have become increasingly concerned about our large deficits, about our escalating debt burdens, and the rapid increase in interest. They believe that things are out of control, and they understand that there's a need to start taking action if we want our future to be better than our past. They want steps taken to help restore the economy and generate jobs now, and they want a plan of action that will help make sure that we can put our federal house in order over time. They also understand they're given the true magnitude of our challenge, not just what's on the balance sheet, but what's off the balance sheet that'll be future debt, that everything has to be on the table in order to effectively address this challenge, and that there aren't any easy solutions. They want to protect our social safety net programs. At the same point in time, they don't want to unduly mortgage the future of our country, our children, and our grandchildren. They're tired of talk, and they're looking for leadership. They're looking for sensible, workable, nonpartisan solutions that can gain bipartisan support. And that's what the Fiscal Solutions Tour is all about. We've come together from different political and ideological perspectives and different backgrounds to engage the public in a meaningful way, because frankly we all recognize that the future of our country and our families are at stake. And to help achieve meaningful reforms, Americans need to not only hear facts about problems, but some possible solutions. We plan to lay out some illustrative solutions. Nobody has all the answers. None of us do. Some illustrative solutions during the tour, and to hear what Americans have to say about them. There's no way that elected officials will make the tough choices required unless the American people understand the need for action and the potential adverse consequences if we fail to act. And there's no way that they'll make the tough votes unless they understand that they will automatically lose their jobs if they do. In fact, in many ways, you need to make the political pain associated with doing nothing, which Washington has become very adept at, greater than the political pain of doing something that may involve some tough choices in the short term to create a better future. My role during the tour will be to explain why all major areas of reform have to be on the table, and to address defense and other spending issues, and to talk about some illustrative options to try to reduce spending in those areas. Having served almost 10 years as Soldier General of the United States, head of the GAO, and an ex-official member of the Defense Business Group, also as a trustee of Social Security Medicare, I know firsthand where there are opportunities to reduce costs without compromising our national security or shredding the important social safety net programs that Americans support and need. I look forward to discussing these issues along with my colleagues of the American people and to hear what they have to say. On a related note, you've been giving a package of material, and one of the things that's in the package is a free DVD entitled IOUSA Solutions that the Peter G. Peterson produced. I look at it in 3 minutes. Available on IOUS.com. Segments have been posted yesterday, and they're downloadable. Thank you. Thank you.
Before questions, I just mentioned 6 stops that we Fiscal Solutions Tour. It's going to be in San Diego, September 23rd. The following day we'll be in San Jose. Then we'll be in Des Moines, Iowa on September 30th. And then we're going to New Hampshire on October 7th and Portsmouth, New Hampshire. And then on October 22nd we'll be in Philadelphia. November 12th we'll be in Chicago. There may be some additional cities and dates listed at that coming time. You can check the Concord Coalition website for any additional cities. We hope to add one in the South at some point before the tour concludes. And I would also point out that we're going to have a couple of commissions reporting. The President's Commission is going to be reporting by December 1st. The Bowles-Simpson Commission. I serve on a bipartisan task force sponsored by the Bipartisan Policy Center that's chaired by Alice Rivlin and former Senator Pete Domenici. Bill is a member of that task force, and another one of our members, Bob Campbell, is here today as well. So we're going to be reporting sometime in mid-November. So there will be commissions reporting with specific solutions, and our hope is to get out and help lay the framework for consideration of the types of solutions that the commissions will be recommending.
Thank you. Now, surveys of voters show that people, yes, they're concerned about the deficit and they're becoming increasingly aware of it. But when asked, they also say they don't want their taxes raised and they don't want their entitlements touched. And when you start asking specifically which product programs you'd like cut, they don't want anything cut. And the scenarios I've seen laid out show that actually the sacrifices will have to be pretty enormous in order to close the gap over the coming years. You folks have been talking about this for years, especially Mr. Walker, and I'd be interested to get your perspective if there's any sense of the sacrifice among that is going to need to be made, whether voters realize there are hard choices and they're going to have to figure out that this involves real pain, or whether we're not at that point yet.
I'll start. The American people know that we have a serious problem. They don't necessarily know the magnitude of the problem. There are some people think that there are simple solutions we can grow our way out, and all we need to do is get out of Afghanistan, be foreign aid, get rid of fraud and abuse and mismanagement, but there's no item for that. Or that we'll get our way out. Those will work. They don't come still working. It's just this whole math problem. Unfortunately, America's not top 25 in math, and so that's another problem. What you do find is that obviously there's broad-based agreement, 80% plus, that our structural deficit should be a priority, a top 3 priority of Washington. We need to address it in conjunction with efforts to try to stimulate the economy and generate jobs. We need a plan. We don't implement it all. We need a plan action to start doing, implement it. There are differences on how much should be spending cuts versus tax increase. The general view is that the younger you are and the better off you are financially, the more of the burden that you will bear. Not surprising, but that's probably true.
And also the general understanding that the sooner we start acting, the sooner we can get the miracle of compounding to work for us rather than against us, which it is now. Because the sooner you make tough choices, modest incremental changes phased in over time can have a huge effect on a discounted present value dollar basis. And that's really where we need to be going, is those types of changes.
I think all those things are true, and I think that's where the public is. But let me give you a specific example about how to get the public involved and engaged. When I was at AARP, we did a large series of community meetings on the issue of Social Security. And we would always start the meetings out by saying, okay, we have a long-term problem here, and we have to face up to it as a nation. And here are